Argentina wants to go down to 0% too. Their president, he's the guy that gave Elon the chainsaw. He says friends will be friends. India is cutting a trade agreement in the coming days. That's over 1 billion customers our companies will get access to. South Korea is going all out to get a good deal. And South Korea knows a thing or two about tariffs. You can't get into that market. And they're an Asian powerhouse. The Europeans are coming to the table. They're willing to drop their automobile tariffs from 10% to 2.5%. And they're promising to buy American energy and weaponry. Japan's tried everything. They've said President Trump will buy more natural gas, more armaments. They said SoftBank's investing $500 billion in America, and Trump said no. Keep going. What else? 47 means business. And the last one to negotiate loses. China, in a big huff, retaliated and jacked up tariffs on us. Trump says, quote, China played it wrong. They panicked. The one thing they cannot afford to do. How many things in China say made in America? And how many things here say made in China? Now do you get it? The White House is holding all the cards. And who are the ones crying? Foreign countries and American multinationals who ship jobs and factories to those same foreign countries.
Nobody was crying these crocodile tears when they were closing the Mound Road engine plant that Chrysler had in Macomb County, or the Romeo engine plant in Romeo, Michigan in Macomb County. But all of a sudden, now that we're trying to bring these products back, these components and these vehicles back to the United States, all of a sudden, all the so-called experts are saying it's going to plunge us into recession and be terrible for the economy. Yeah. So thank God. If they're crying, I think we're doing something right.
China has warned NATO that they will get involved in the war if NATO decide to intervene in Ukraine directly or militarily. In fact, if NATO deploy troops to Ukraine, China says they will fully back Russia with military forces and they will defend Russia. This comes after NATO members, spearheaded by France, Britain, and Germany, says that they should send more than 150,000 troops to Ukraine to actually go and maintain peace, what they call coalition of the willing. Russia had warned them that any attempt to this will lead to a total disaster. Trump administration has also warned NATO that they will not be part of this nonsense. Now, on Saturday, that happens to be the 5th of April, China foreign minister and defense minister also issued a formal warning through diplomatic channel that they are observing what is happening in Ukraine, that if there is a direct intervention on NATO in Ukraine, then it is a declaration of war against China. And China will have the legitimacy to attack NATO and to fully defend Russia. And that will mean Ukraine will be now a battleground state. Watch this video.
China has dramatically escalated global tensions with an official statement confirming it will intervene militarily if NATO directly engages Russia in Ukraine. This bold declaration marks a significant shift in China's public stance on the ongoing conflict. Chinese Minister of Defense issued the stark warning through diplomatic channels, stating, China will intervene militarily on the side of Russia if NATO officially enters the war against the Russian Federation. The message leaves little room for interpretation about China's intentions. But what exactly has prompted this sudden hardening of China's position on the Ukrainian conflict?
They know damn well what that means. Because according to the Bible, they may lose economically temporarily, but according to the Bible, they're going to win militarily by war. And with that being said, let's go to Luke 21, verse 34. And take heed to yourselves, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting and drunkenness and cares of this life, and so that day come upon you unawares. For as a snare shall it come on all them that dwell on the face of the earth, the whole earth. 36th verse. Watch ye therefore and pray always that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass and to stand before the Son of Man. Shalom. Now let's read up to the 28th verse. And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. Shalom. All praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem HaMashiach Yahushua. Hallelujah. 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 Okay, watch to the very end. This is a little longer video. It's about 10 minutes, so watch to the very end. Shalom.
The world is standing on the edge of catastrophe. NATO has just crossed a line, declaring Ukraine's path to membership is now irreversible. In response, China has issued a chilling threat. If NATO enters the war against Russia, we will intervene militarily, anytime, anywhere. This isn't a standoff anymore. This is a collision course between nuclear superpowers. NATO is flooding Ukraine with billions in arms, daring Russia to act. Russia is digging trenches, moving missiles, warning that Ukraine's NATO membership is a death sentence for peace. And now China, armed and allied with Russia, is vowing to enter the battlefield if NATO dares to push further. The world's most dangerous forces are moving into position. China and Belarus are drilling troops on NATO's doorstep in Poland. NATO's warnings are falling on deaf ears. China's reply? We're ready for global war, and the armies gathering are massive. NATO commands around 3.3 million soldiers. Russia holds about 1.2 million. But China brings over 2 million active fighters and 3 million more in reserve, ready to unleash chaos if the order is given. This isn't about politics anymore. This is about survival. The pressure is unbearable. The fuse is burning fast. One mistake, one misfire, and the world as we know it could vanish overnight. NATO, Russia, China, the lines are drawn, the countdown has begun. Who will strike first, or is it already too late? Comment your thoughts below.
We have been teasing this, that the president and Bibi Netanyahu, who is in town to speak with the president, they were planning to have an East Room press conference. That's been canceled. Do we know why?
That's right. This has been canceled. We have no idea why this has been canceled, but it is something that we are clearly going to be asking questions about and are asking questions about. We have a correspondent, Gabe Gutierrez, who is, I'm sure, running around the White House right now trying to figure out what's going on. We know that Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, has had a pretty warm relationship with President Trump, but they were supposed to get together today. We do understand, at least we've been told, that we're still going to see them meeting in the Oval Office, and there will be cameras there. Reporters will likely be also posing questions to the two men there. There's a lot to talk about. Of course, there's the issue of the war in Israel between Israel and Hamas. There's some new reporting out that there's one episode of these medical workers that were killed. Israel said it happened one way. Video is now contradicting their story. There's also, of course, the issue of tariffs. President Trump saying that Benjamin Netanyahu is one of the leaders of a number of countries that have been open to talking about and negotiating when it comes to tariffs. I've been hearing that Israel is one of those countries that also wants to see their tariffs lessened. But it is, I think, a big question of why these two leaders aren't going to be standing before a crowd of reporters. And it's a little different than an oval spray. And I guess I'll just tell people, when you're in the oval spray, it's just the president and the leader of that country being Benjamin Netanyahu today, and a few handful of reporters. We call it the pool. Something like maybe 10, maybe 15 reporters. What they were going to go to is the East Room in the White House, where you're going to have dozens and dozens of reporters. That's also where you see reporters from both both the country that's visiting, this time being Israel, as well as the United States. We call it a 2 and 2 because usually foreign reporters who are from Israel as well as American reporters, they all get to ask questions to both leaders. It sounds like that's not going to happen, so it's going to be very interesting to understand why that is. We know that the last press conference that was canceled was when the president of Ukraine came out. Of course, that was a blow up in the Oval Office. The two men were arguing and fighting. I'm not sure that that would be what's happening here because, again, this was a historically warm relationship between Israel and President Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu and President Trump. So definitely going to be asking and hopefully get some answers on what's going on here, Chris.